Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you are all as safe and sound as can be these days. It has been a wild year, but despite all these ups and downs that we've been going through, I've got things to be thankful for. In particular, on this channel, I hit a major milestone a few weeks ago of 1,000 subscribers. And I know in the big scheme of things that's not too important, but to me, it is. And I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for subscribing and sticking with the channel over all these years. So instead of just saying thanks and being done with it, I want to give something a little bit more useful for folks today that you might be able to use if you decide to go on a similar filmmaking journey. Things I've learned as I've went through the last couple of years. First, a big caveat. I am not what you would call a typical YouTuber. In fact, that's a term I tend to avoid. If I can be bold for a moment, I would describe myself as a filmmaker, or historian, or documentarian, or a storyteller. All clearly at an amateur level with gusto. To make this episode a little more visually interesting, so you don't have to stare at my face the whole time, I'm going to share some scenic photos from previous Rooftops journeys. Another thing to keep in mind is how I work my channel and my projects. That may not be how you necessarily do yours. And with this advice, it's probably a good chance you've heard most of it before, and it's all sort of interrelated to each other. But hopefully, I can give you a little bit of a fresh look from a slightly different perspective. To make this list a little more visually appealing as well, I'm going to throw in the background pictures along my high-pointing journey that you may not have seen in previous episodes. Before we dive in, take a moment and click that red subscribe button below and the bell icon next to it for all the latest Rooftops of America and Rooftops of the Solar System updates. Number 1, find your voice. That is perhaps the most important bit of advice that I can give. Know what you want to say and what you want to do before you even start. Here's the thing though, as you get going, there's a good chance that things are going to evolve, and that's okay. In fact, that's better than okay. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with this series even before I shot a frame. And that said, as I have gotten more into this, I have discovered other paths that I now plan on following. Number 2, set goals. My ultimate goal on the Rooftops of America series is to share my journey on climbing the 56 state and territory high points in the USA. Having these definitive goals gives you a focus, something to work towards, and it's going to help you get what you want from this entire experience. Number 3, planning. It's one thing to know what you want to say and what you want to be about, but it's a whole other thing to know and understand how you're going to do it. Before you start, take the time to figure out how you're going to produce your content. For me, schedules. Schedules are great. They allow you to forecast your time and efforts. You can sketch out your ideas and content, knowing what you'll be making 6 months, a year, 18 months, whatever, in advance, so that you know before you start what you're committing to. Number 4, Perspiration. This is a second job and then some. It started out small enough, but over the years has grown in complexity and size and work effort. In order to pull off the stories I want to tell, I have to put in the legwork. This really is something where you get what you put into it. And so, be prepared to put the time in. Number 5, patience. Guess what? The cold hard truth, you're probably not going to blow up overnight into a sensation. That, well, it's like winning the lottery. I've been at this now for over 4 years, traveled thousands of miles, put in countless hours, and climbed a few mountains along the way. And like a lot of others, I have had to slug it out. But you know what? It's been worth it. And patience, of course, ties in with our next one. Number 6, persistence. Over the life of this channel, I have had the fortunate support of both family and friends to make this a reality. But the truth is, at the end of the day, the reason this series continues is because I believe in it and I love doing it. You have to have confidence in yourself, because at times it's going to be easy to lose hope. But having that reserve of confidence is going to allow you to dig deep and drive on. Because if you don't, this isn't going to happen. Don't be afraid to shamelessly promote your work. You are your own best advocate. So take pride in what you've done and share it with others. Number 7, write, and then write some more. This particular one really is a reflection on how I work on my series. Writing is the key to it. Everything you see here, it's scripted. The live footage, the voiceovers, how I even stand in the frame, it's all scripted. And it all depends on writing. This countdown list you're watching right now, totally scripted. I'm reading the words off a piece of paper. I love scripts. They help me organize my filming, production, editing, and the stories I want to tell. And because I depend on them so heavily, I spend a lot of my time writing, at least an hour almost every night. Number 8, learn and be open to trying new things. This whole journey has been one giant learning experience for me. And this is most evident if you go back and look at, say, one of those first episodes. If you watch it now, it almost seems quaint, like what we're doing today. As time went on, though, I've become a better writer, a better filmmaker, and a better host, and accordingly, grown in confidence in my abilities. When events have come up, like, say, hey, a pandemic, I've been able to adjust and keep going. And this goes even further. With the experience I've gained, I already know the next couple of projects that are going to happen after this is wrapped. Number 9. It's not about YouTube. As you may have noticed throughout this entire thing, there has been very little mention about YouTube. There's a good reason for that. For some folks, being a YouTuber is their goal, and it's what they want to be. And you know what? That's awesome. For me, though, YouTube, it's just a platform. It's a tool at my disposal to share the stories I want to tell. There's other ones out there, and it is good not to forget about them. Don't limit your options. Number 10. Temper your expectations. While this one seems similar to a couple earlier points that I made, I wanted to specifically call it out, because if there is one way to lose confidence and hope in what you're doing, it's with unrealistic expectations. Here's a little anecdote about this one. I didn't start this channel with plans to monetize it, which ironically turned out to be a good thing, because within the first few months of starting it, YouTube changed their monetization structure. And if that had been one of my primary focuses, that could have been a devastating blow to morale. And finally, number 11, perhaps the other big piece of advice that I could give somebody: enjoy yourself. Because if you're not enjoying yourself while you're doing this, I guarantee you won't stick with it. Film days are some of my favorite days, and so is exploring new areas and achieving personal goals. In the long run, this has been a very creative and rewarding part of my life, and I've enjoyed all of it. There you go. 11 bits of advice that I've learned on my journey, and hopefully some of them can be of some use on yours. If there's any hard-earned bits of knowledge that you've learned or questions that you have, let me know in the comments below. Love to see it. I'm Scott Marthala. Thanks for joining me today. Before you go, click that red subscribe button below, and I'll see you soon.